see you guys in the dark.
I merely want to get this off my chest, and seeing written to know I'm not the crazy one in this situation. I'll be changing the names as well as the locations in order to protect not only my identity, my stalkers. I had gotten out of a long-term, mentally, financially, physically, and emotionally abusive relationship, a story for another time, about 6 months prior to getting in contact with a person I went to high school with in my small town of California. I had added him because I was rebuilding my friends list on Facebook after this relationship. Shallow, I know, but I didn't have very many friends in the new town I lived in, and I was reaching out to old ones that I used to be in better contact with. Anyways, he had messaged me almost immediately after I had added him. He questioned me on why I had added him, and after I told him we had gone to school together, he began to compliment and court me. After a couple weeks of his flirting, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I declined because something just wasn't right. There was a sinking feeling in my stomach, reading all the message he had sent me. It was a feeling that was all too familiar. Sickly sweet messages that just seemed all too good to be true. The same feeling and situation I had been in my prior relationship. I told him about this feeling, as well as good of friends of mine, and the conclusion was that I was paranoid from my PTSD that I acquired from the last relationship. After a couple of weeks went by with no contact, he messaged me telling me he loved me, and that he wanted to have a chance to at least prove himself. So, despite the paranoia, I decided to give him a chance. Looking back, I see all the warning signs. I see all of the same situations that I have been in not once, but twice in both relationships. And I'm ashamed I didn't trust myself enough the second time around to back away while I still had a chance. Anyways, this boy, we'll call him Mike. Mike had been in love before me. This girl, Katie, had apparently taken him for a whirlwind and destroyed him and his trust. We broke up because he wanted to take another chance with her, and he ended up messaging me, giving me another chance to take his heart. Fast forward to him moving to live with me in my new town. I had agreed to him moving in because he had told me his parents were terrible, how he never felt like he had a home, and that he was having trouble with Katie. He had agreed to find a job, help me with rent and the bills. He constantly got shitty jobs and quit them all the time because it was too soul-crushing. So I got him a job at my job, which he eventually quit as well. So I'd been supporting him, his drug addictions, and apparently his cheating endeavors. I found out he was cheating because he gave me an STD. He swore he must have had it before he got together with me, because he never cheated. But then I noticed him hiding his phone, leaving in the middle of the night, condoms in my car, even the nude pictures he had been sending other girls. Finally, I broke up with him. He told me that I was crazy, that I was driving him crazy, and that I was lucky to have anyone put up with me. I told him to move out, but he never did. I started seeing other guys, refusing to talk to him while he slept on the couch. He eventually cornered me and wouldn't let me leave until we were back together. So I got back with him. Things were fine until he started cheating again, and we broke up again. Same situation happened, except he got more strange when I refused to get back together. He showed me that he had cut his leg multiple times, told me I drove him to do it, and that he couldn't live without me. While I had dealt with suicidal threats from the previous boyfriend, I hadn't ever actually seen anything like this. I was afraid he'd actually go through with it, so we got back together this time. I spent the majority of my time trying to catch him in the act of cheating. I'm not proud of the lengths that I went to, but he kept telling me I was crazy, paranoid, and that I was making him crazy in return, and that it was my fault if he cheated. I found multiple active dating accounts, online messages from many other girls, including his exes, and his friend had told me he went with him to meet a girl he had met online. I ended up kicking him out. He threw something in the heat of packing his things, and he finally left. I was relieved, but he tried to patch things up with me before he moved back to our hometown. Back together. Stupid, I know, but I was emotionally scarred. And I felt like I wasn't good enough for someone to treat me right, and I really believed he was the best that I could get. And the day before my birthday, he had left me for a girl he had just met. I won't lie, I did cry, but I was thankful to be rid of him once and for all. I decided to travel around South America. I went to old ruins and made so many friends. I rediscovered myself, and I'm truly happy now. However, a week into my journey, I got an email from Mike. He had apologized to me, told me he wanted to pay me back for all he owed me, and that he shouldn't have done what he did. This didn't seem odd, until he mentioned that he hoped I was having a good time on my travels. He wouldn't have known. I had blocked him on all of my social media profiles. I assumed a friend had told him, so I tried not to think much of it. I replied asking him not to contact me, and that if he wanted to pay me back, he could contact my mother. He had refused, and ended up saying terrible things to hurt me more. Over the course of my trip, he had contacted me many times after, making new accounts, even having friends add me, telling me to give him another chance, and to see the drawings he's done of me. I refused, blocked all of them, but it's gotten to a point where he continues to claim that I'm playing the victim card, and that I can't say I never loved him. Also that I'm a terrible person, and that I abused him, not the other way around. He's even contacted my mother, trying to get me to be urged by her to talk to him at least. I finally told him I was going to get a restraining order once I get back to the U.S. He hasn't contacted me since, but I'm not holding my breath. I feel like his sole purpose was to ruin my trip, and to make me feel insecure enough again to get back with him, but I'll never let that happen. I want to add a post note. I had found out from Katie that he had stalked her. He had found her on her bus at her campus and refused to leave her alone, and that he still contacts her with hopes to be with her as well. She's actually not the crazy, psychotic ex he had made her out to be. So take it from me. If your boyfriend or girlfriend has only crazy exes, run, don't walk, as far away as you can. He may not have been insane enough to track me down yet or harm Katie, but you can never be careful. As well, trust your gut. You know more than you think. I'd like to share a story about my ex-boyfriend, who I felt could have really hurt me. Now keep in mind, we're on speaking terms now, but I still don't really trust him. I'd actually really like it if you guys could give me some advice after this, whether I should give him a second chance at friendship or keep my distance. So, in order to understand some of these things better, I'll give you some personal information about me. I'm a very small, easily intimidated girl who at the time identified as bisexual. I realized I feel no attraction towards men, and now identify as a lesbian. It also should be known that I'm a survivor of some sexual abuse. My ex, who'll be known as Jake, and I were friends since the 8th grade, where we met through mutual friends. Around the beginning of freshman year, he asked me out, and I accepted, thrilled at the idea of just being in a relationship. Things started out great. He was nice, I was happy, and we got along great. At least when we were out of the public eye. In public, he'd refuse to even touch me, or look at me, and God forbid show me any affection. I tried to talk to him about it, and asked if everything was okay, but it never went anywhere. We ended up getting into a fight where I accused him of being embarrassed of me, and he accused me of overreacting. After a few days or so, we made up, and he promised he'd be nicer to me in public. Unfortunately, that ended up with him really changing his attitude towards me in private. He always tried to play fight with me, in which I'd end up bruised because he didn't know the meaning of the word gentle. It was also pretty common for him to pin me to the ground and just hold me there, which, given what I mentioned with my childhood abuse, really scared me. I tried to tell him that I didn't like being held down because it scared me, and he ignored it. Telling him about my abuse just elicited the response, "So you're not a virgin?" That was what was important. Well, as our relationship was taking a turn for the worse, I found myself falling for one of my best friends, who we'll call Emma. Emma really understood my situation and was always there to support me and take care of me. One day, I decided to tell Jake that I think I needed a break from him to think about us. He agreed and said that he understood. After school that day, I went to Emma's. Our good friend texted me and asked what was going on with Jake and I, so I told her the situation. Apparently, she was told to ask by him, because not even a minute later I received an angry text message from him demanding I decide now what I want to do in our relationship. I told him that I wasn't going to put up with this, and ended it there. He then replied over the next few weeks with texts filled with threats, hate, and anger. I really got scared, but luckily Emma was there for me the whole time. While this was at its peak, was also when she and I got together. This infuriated Jake. He sent me text message after text filled with threats of ending me, ending himself, telling me to kill myself, Emma, etc. He started harassing her too, telling her that I belonged to him and that he had me first, even going so far as to lie about me having sex with him, which I didn't. I also heard that he took out his anger by completely smashing a trash can in the school bathroom. It was then where I stopped thinking of his threats as empty and him as being harmless. I blocked his number and his social media, but Emma wasn't that lucky. He continued to harass her by texting her old pictures of him and I, and drawings of him hurting us. Eventually, she blocked him too, and we felt safe for a little while. But Jake wasn't done yet. While we were dating, he used to come by my house a lot since we lived in the same neighborhood, and he started doing this again, standing outside my window and watching me. Sometimes he'd throw rocks or yell, and other times he'd just do nothing. I didn't know what to do anymore. Looking back, I probably should have called the cops, but at the time, I probably thought it was too trivial. Well, the stalking stayed like that for a few months, until he got a new girlfriend, which is when it stopped almost completely. Save for supposedly bragging about her and insulting me on Facebook all the time, according to my friends. And I almost totally put this behind me until my friend sat me down to say something. She had remained friends with him as well as me, and apparently saw how obsessed this guy was with me. He apparently had a whole journal about me, as well as some old pictures on his phone that he'd supposedly used inappropriately. I mean, that was gross, but the journal was what really got me. She had read some of it once without him knowing. Don't ask me how. I really don't know. But apparently it contained graphic plans about how he wanted to do bad things with me and end me. That really scared me, and for years I would have panic attacks at the mere mention of his name. I was so afraid that this guy was going to break into my house one night and hurt me. I ended up sleeping with an umbrella on my nightstand, as that was the closest thing to a weapon that I had. Now recently, he's come to me and apologized for all of this, and wants to make amends. I've accepted his apology, but I'm keeping him at a distance. Do you think it's safe? Or do you think that he's doing this as means to hurt me again? Am I being paranoid? Please, I really need answers. I don't want to risk getting me or Emma hurt, and I may just have to go to the police about this, especially if things don't stop anytime soon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night, and I'll see you next time.